Our guys are anxious to get back to work today. Have a big, important week ahead of us. We had a good meeting yesterday, team meeting in practice, although we were just in spiders. Today we'll be in full pads. And obviously we need to make a number of corrections and identifying those and making sure that we hit on those things. I know the players and coaches were disappointed from Saturday because we didn't meet the expectations that we want to have, and it's something we're going to learn from and move forward. And it's easy to praise everybody when you're successful, and it's easy to be negative when you're not successful. And I think sometimes in this world we're probably too negative. And so we're going to emphasize the things we have to get corrected and continue to work and continue to grow with the guys, because that's the only thing we can do and the only thing we know how to do, and just get back to work and go play. So open up for questions.
I guess one thing that might be positive and looking forward is the young talent that you possess on this team. I think I counted 16 redshirt freshmen or true freshmen that have recorded a statistic in 5 games. Yeah. How have the young talent on this team been able to contribute so far?
Well, because we put them in positions in practice, for starters, to try to give them the sense of what it would be like in a game. Because of how we practice, I think it's there's a lot of pressure and stress in the practice setting that helps them. But you also don't know how they're going to perform when the lights really go on. And I've been pleased. I know that the future's now, but the future's also bright, because we're playing an awful lot of guys, and there's still a handful of guys that we discussed about on Sunday that are really close to playing. Whether that means they're going to play all the rest of the games or just play the 4. This will be a big week, because we are going to put those guys in a lot of situations where they're going maybe not against a first-team guy, but maybe against a guy that's maybe our third wideout and he's the third corner, to see how close they are, because we're going to need them moving forward.
2 guys in particular that might be here today to speak with us, Joshua Youngblood and Joe Irvin. What have you seen from those 2 in particular?
Well, Josh is obviously had high expectations coming in, and we all knew about Josh, and he's somebody that we have visited about with you guys at length. And each week in practice, I just see him gaining more confidence, and he played fast on Saturday. I take the kick returns, for example, and a couple of them will get him corrected. I don't think he should bring them out, but he's a true freshman, and we got to help him in those situations. But the moment wasn't too big for him, and he hit the hole hard and played with some urgency. And even away from the ball sometimes, he does a really good job of getting open, or a really good job of blocking. As far as Joe, with us losing Jordan for a little bit, we wanted to get another back involved that had a little bit of some juice like Joe did or does, and so we gave him a few carries, and we were really pleased with what we saw. Same thing, the stage wasn't too big for him, and I think moving forward you'll see more of both those guys.
Coach, a lot of people can see some stats they think matter, some stats they think don't. I know you're a points guy in winning and losing, but are there any metrics or stats that you kind of find yourself gravitating to see how you played after the fact?
Yeah, I think the easy thing would be turnover margin, but I think the one that we have looked at through the first 5 weeks is the explosive plays, 20 yards or more. And it's something on an emphasis on defense that we have to limit and eliminate. And mainly most of that stuff is tackling. With us being in more single high stuff with 1 free safety, you're going to give up a back shoulder fade on a corner for 22 yards. All of us can live with that, but we can't give up an explosive play where we have him pinned in or we should make a tackle. And then offensively, we need to have a few more explosive plays. Some of those are protection, some of those are making a guy miss, some of those are getting open, all those things. But that's probably the biggest statistic that we've got to get flipped.
Some of those freshmen playing, especially the true freshmen, in your experience, how long does it usually take for the light switch really to turn on with guys in these sort of situations?
Yeah, everybody's different. Josh is further ahead simply because I think he did a phenomenal job during the summer of trying to learn as much as he could from the older guys, and it just came to him a little bit easier. It's just, and positions are different. Wide up maybe is a little bit easier. I keep going back, and I've said this to you guys before. Cooper Beebe is one of the most impressive freshmen that I've seen. And Cooper Beebe will be a great football player for Kansas State, but he's a true freshman that's not quite ready to play in Big 12, and more from the mental side of things. So every position may be different, every player may be different, but those are just two pretty good examples.
Start of Big 12 play the last 2 weeks. What would you say are some of the biggest lessons you guys as a coaching staff have learned over the last 2 weeks?
Well, just try not to outthink yourself sometimes. I think we did a little bit during the delay at Oklahoma State, trying to reinvent the wheel because we had an hour and a half. And let's see what else we can draw up. What are the things that we can create? And sometimes all the things you worked on, you should have stuck with. And I think that starts with me. And then just, I think the more than anything, we just continue to learn our talent and what we are capable of having. What are we capable of making? A lot of adjustments at the quarterback position? Probably. Are we capable of making a lot of adjustments at the corner position? Probably. But at certain positions where we're not as experienced, we can't do that.
How long would you say you're expecting to be without Jordan Brown at this point?
Boy, I would still say he's a few weeks away. I would be knocking on wood for Oklahoma, but I know he's not going to be with us this week, and I doubt for next week.
You've gone back and studied the way the running game has gone the last two games. Are you guys close to breaking big plays, or what do you need to do differently to create
Well, we were
those?
obviously, I think all of us are smart enough. We were much better this past week than we were against Oklahoma State. I thought we ran the ball with some success against Baylor. What we have to eliminate is the negative plays. We're getting 7, we're getting 8, we're getting 9, and all of a sudden we miss a block, we miss a read, we miss a cut, and all of a sudden we lose 2, we lose 3. That's the thing that we have to eliminate from, and it's everybody. It's not the O-line, it's not the backs, it's not the tight ends, it's not the quarter. It's a collective group that we have to eliminate the negative plays.
I know the offense is still new to some of these guys. Is there any temptation with 2 weeks here now to maybe adjust things for the personnel you have and make it simpler in some ways?
I think you always have to do that. Absolutely. I think you always have to. We talked a little bit on Sunday and Monday. Moving forward, what's going to be our identity? Because over the next 7 weeks, this is what we have and what we're going to do. We also know we have to be able to run the football. We have to be able to stop the run. However we do that. Are we more of a pressure team on defense? Are we more of a man team? Are we more of a zone team? Those are things that we're looking at throughout this entire week, and we're focusing on Kansas State more than we are TCU. Same thing on the offensive side. Are we better running the ball spread out? Are we better running the ball condensed? Are we better running the ball under center? Are we better running the ball out of shotgun? We'll do all those things because I think that's what makes it more difficult to defend is when you can do more things, but you also have to be able to hang your hat on something.
Coach, you just mentioned the 7 straight weeks you're coming up on, which is a really tough stretch. We knew coming into the season there were some issues with depth, experience, but balancing that out, you also have a lot of seniors. Is there any temptation now as you get out on the recruiting trail maybe to look a little more in the junior college where there's a little more experience, or you just stay the course with the freshman development program?
I think you have to have a mix of both. You look at the offensive line positions, a great position in the fact that there's so many upperclassmen. Yes, you're going to look at a junior college player there, but do they fit? Can they get out early? Are they May guys? Can you find a high school guy that's 280 that can be 310 in a year? Do you find a high school kid that's 240 and it's 310 in 3 years? Those are the things that we're tossing around every day up there. But that's just one position. And so, I don't think we would say, nope, sorry, we're only going to take high school kids. Or you know what, guys, we got to go find 8 junior college kids. I never will do that just because I'm a long-term plan guy. And to some point earlier, we have some really good freshmen. So if we keep recruiting really good freshmen, we're going to have a solid foundation for longer.
Follow-up to that would be, does this 4-game rule further change that dynamic where you can measure guys and get them experience without burning the year.
Yeah, and we have to be cautious. There's some, like Josh, he's just going to play. Joe Irvin, I think, has played in a couple. We have to make some decisions, but part of that is Jordan Brown. I don't want to burn a guy's shirt if he can't help us substantially, play a bunch of snaps for us. But it's the guys know about it. That's the thing that players are more educated on it now, of how many games I've played. Am I playing enough? Everybody wants to play. Every freshman wants to play. It's us trying to tell those guys, trust me, in 4 years when you're a redshirt senior, you're going to look at me and say, thank you for holding my year so I'm able to play as a 22-year-old.
When you go back and watch film of the last 2 games, is it maddening to see so many plays that end up being big plays against your defense or negative plays on your offense where one guy didn't quite do his job right and it just blew up? Yeah,
I don't think it's maddening. I don't want to have my whole life on that. I understand it's a process, and I understand that, is it ability? Is it coaching? Is it scheme? Is it lack of experience under our scheme? I think we look at everything. The one thing I promise everybody here is, there's no stone unturned. We're up there, all day Sunday, all day, all night, Sunday night, Monday night, trying to find the things, trying to see what will make us better. And I think that's the challenge, and that's the thing that excites me so much is, you're right, I haven't been in this position before, but it excites me because I knew when I took the job that there were going to be challenges. And, I think the greater challenge is the greater reward. And that's what we've kind of expressed to the coaches and guys, that that's why we got to stay the course.
You mentioned earlier that you guys may have been overthinking some things as coaches in those Big 12 games. Do you feel like it was at all maybe trying to learn how to coach in the Big 12, or was it just that was that game and the way?
No, that has nothing to do with it. I don't think that's no, not at all. It's just the moment of that hour and a half. I said one game. I didn't say multiple Big 12 games we did that. I said one game. And no, that was just one game. And once again, it doesn't matter what level you're at. We beat Iowa State. We beat Kansas State. We beat KU. We beat Iowa. We beat Minnesota at a different level. That you guys always want to emphasize that level. I'm just going to keep telling you, football's football. You guys can believe what you want, and I'm going to believe what I want.
What have your initial impressions been, just their first 2 games in the Big 12? Have you had any differences with coaching at all?
No, I think it's pretty much what I thought it would be. Even the 2 games we've played, the defenses have been an aggressive style of the 2 defenses we've seen. Offensively, you got to have weapons. Bottom line, you have to have weapons. Whether it's wideouts, running backs, quarterbacks, and I've been really impressed. But also goes to show you, it doesn't matter what you did one week. You didn't mean you're going to win the next week. I don't know if anybody would have thought Texas Tech would have beat Oklahoma State, and sure enough, they did. And so that's why I look at it big picture and say we have to focus on this week and getting our work done and getting better to face the next opponent, and not worry about what's in game 3 down the line and game 9 down the line. We just got to focus on our job.
When it comes to bye weeks, are you someone who has the same routine regardless of when they happen or when they fall, or are there things that you saw from the first one that you had that you're like, okay, that did not work for the practice things and we need to change it up?
Well, I think it all depends on when they are. If we had this in week 9, I think everybody's beat to heck, and you got to be smart with them. We just came off a bye week. We played 2 games, and we have another bye week. And so we are doing things a little bit differently simply because this is the last bye week we have, and we want to get some look at some younger players. And so we'll put some guys in positions. We'll even scrimmage on one day a little bit with the young guys that maybe haven't played as much. And then we now will look at more of where's the areas we've struggled at. Here's an area that we've struggled in the high red zone between the 25 and 35-yard line, getting things established there. So we'll look at it and say we're going to go our one offense against our one defense and work in that high red zone. We'll do that today, and we'll find another area tomorrow, rather than saying, okay, we'll just spend 2 solid weeks on TCU.
Saturday, how promising was it to see how well Phillip Brooks played in terms of getting career highs in both receptions and yardage?
I saw that coming with Phillip because I think he gets better and better. And I think with Phillip, it's just a confidence level, and he's a really quiet, reserved guy, but he's a competitor. And I was really pleased to see him be one of the go-to guys and make play after play. And I know that Skylar was excited to see that. That kid made plays. I think Sammy Wheeler made a couple of really good plays that's going to help us. And Dalton Schoen played one of his best games. So we're, even though we didn't have Malik, some other guys stepped up. Josh Youngblood's another one.
What's impressed you most with Devin, your punter?
His ability to place the football. He's got a great leg. Everybody knows that. Gets the ball off on time. But the ability directionally to punt the ball where we ask him to punt it, whether it was into the wind or with the wind, that's tough to do. And that's why as he progresses and continues to improve on all his mechanics, I think he has ability to punt on Sundays.
Coach, going back to depth, I just thought of this. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have 85 scholarships here, all as full scholarships. Yeah. At the FCS level, you had 63 that you can divide up to 85 partials.
85, yeah.
Out of curiosity, how many of those did you want to typically be full, and then what other ones?
Probably 75%.
Okay. Would you say right now, as you sit here, over the last few years at North Dakota State, you had better quality depth there than you currently have right now in the Big 12?
Yeah, but we were there for 8 years too, and you have everybody that's in the upper Midwest that knows nothing about any other school because there's not a whole lot going on in North Dakota. They all want to walk on there. To kids in western North Dakota, the only school in the country is North Dakota State. The great thing about the state of Kansas is there's so many community junior colleges here. There's a bunch of Division II schools here that everybody comes here. And that's a credit to the state, and it gives kids more opportunities. In the state of North Dakota, there's not that many opportunities. And so we were able to get a ton of kids a partial scholarship or to get to walk on because that was their goal, that was their dream. And so you have those kids for 5 years, obviously they're going to improve.
Can you explain how you've utilized the senior class in facing this kind of adversity from the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, just basically to challenge them to, if you see something, say something, take ownership, and I'm not, sometimes it's a correction. It's not to chastise somebody or just to rip somebody. I think sometimes it's to coddle somebody, put your arm around them and say, hey, it's here's what you got to do to be successful. Follow me. Watch what I do in the weight room. Watch what I do at practice. Because, it's to the younger players, especially that aren't playing, this is, I get it. Every freshman, every redshirt freshman wants to be the guy, wants to play. Some of them are ready, some of them are not, and sometimes they need to be told you're not there yet, but let me help you get there. And I'm pleased with the seniors that we have because they keep hearing that message, and it's not just a once in a while message. It's been going on since I got here, and I think more and more, go back to our deal, they're trying to take, and they are taking more ownership.
Some of the struggles in short yardage situations, I know you mentioned like on second down, are there commonalities between those plays, or is it a matter of one different thing?
It's just one thing, maybe it's a missed block, maybe it's we missed the hole, that is, that's another thing that I would say would be frustrating to mess for sure. It's 3rd and 1, it's 4th and 1. For us not to be able to get those, that's something that that's one of the areas that we're gonna work on. Whether it's red zone, hey, it's 3rd and 1, it's a 3rd and 1 period, it's a 4th and 1 period, because those are frustrating. Yeah, without question, we collectively have to be able to get those, and that's everybody. That could be a call to an execution to a play.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, you look at the 3rd down situations over the last 2 games versus Big 12 opponents. That has to be somewhat a little bit frustrating to you.
Yeah.
What are maybe the commonalities between those? Because so many of them do appear. I mean, about 2/3 of them appear to be manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we just got to keep working harder at them, and we got to keep emphasizing. We got to keep putting ourselves in position. to work on those situations. And we're looking at those this week. We're going to put them against our first defense and say, here's the situations. Play this coverage, play this pressure, play this blitz, mix them up, play man, play whatever, so that we can maybe go against faster guys on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I've been pleased with our scout team, but it's different. You don't have A.J. Parker covering somebody. You have a true freshman, and we need to increase that competition level, and that's why this week is so important. It's going to be so valuable to us. And we'll probably do more of that moving forward after we get through this week, as far as we get into week 8 and 9, going good versus good a little bit more, just to increase that competition.
You can say as much or as little as you want on this. I'm sure there's not going to be much, but I noticed that Marcus Hayes is no longer on the roster, and I know you probably don't want to get into specifics, but can you just talk to maybe how frustrating and disappointing that is when you have someone who I know you looked at as probably a big part of the future to no longer be around?
He decided to go in a different direction, and that's it's his right, and I didn't agree with him because I really enjoy Marcus, but you have to love the game to do it, and I appreciate him being honest with me, and this game's hard for a lot of guys, and so I have nothing bad to say against Marcus Hayes at all. I think he's a wonderful kid.
You addressed the tackling issues in part on Saturday. With the week off, are you able to go live tackling without a game coming up?
Yeah, we will do that. It's once again NCAA rules. You can only do so much of it. But that's a frustrating thing that we have to get better. The one thing is they know it, and that's the thing. It's not like it's an absolute whiff. It's more wrapping up. It's more grabbing cloth, wrapping up, waiting, and you see it. That's the thing. There's positive. I see it a number of times, but the few times you don't see it, it's frustrating. So it's something we'll continue to emphasize.
Coach, you had mentioned the junior colleges, and some of the rules have changed on the in-state recruiting for JUCOs in Kansas. But I guess for you personally, just how big of an asset is that to have some of the best JUCOs in the country right here in Kansas?
Well, it's great because we're within driving distance to go see them, go check them out, have them come over and stuff. But it's still a fit. It's still the right situation, and you still have to do a great job recruiting, because that's the other benefit of the great system that we have here in junior colleges. Everybody in the country comes to these junior colleges to find guys.
Just for clarity, you kind of mentioned something earlier. If Jordan Brown couldn't get back healthy, he would be a redshirt candidate. Is that
I
what
don't
you
think
said?
he can.
He can't. Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe. I'm not positive of that, Kellis, but I don't believe he can. Well, something we would look at though.